Welcome to our video on pre-Roman Britain. We're excited to take you on a journey through the history and culture of this fascinating period. Let's dive in. Neolithic Period. Around 4000 BCE, a major change occurred in the way people lived. Neolithic immigrants from the coasts of Western and possibly Northwestern Europe introduced agriculture. These immigrants were not just farmers, they were also pastoralists, raising livestock and traveling with their herds. Tools were commonly made of flint, mined from the earth, but axes of volcanic rock were also traded by prospectors exploiting distant outcrops. The dead were buried in communal graves of two main kinds. In the West, tombs were built out of stone and concealed under mounds of rubble. In the stoneless eastern areas, the dead were buried under long barrows, which normally contained timber structures. Other evidence of religion comes from enclosures, like Windmill Hill in Wiltshire, which are now believed to have been centers of ritual and of seasonal tribal feasting. From these enclosures, late in the 3rd millennium, more clearly ceremonial ditch-enclosed earthworks known as henge monuments were developed. Some, like Dewington Walls in Wiltshire, are of great size and enclose subsidiary timber circles. British Neolithic culture thus developed its own individuality. This was the beginning of a new era in human history, one that would shape the way we live today. Bronze Age. Early in the 2nd millennium, changes were introduced to Britain by the Beaker folk from the Low Countries and the Middle Rhine. These people brought a knowledge of metallurgy and were responsible for the exploitation of gold and copper deposits in Britain and Ireland. They may also have introduced an Indo-European language. Trade was dominated by the chieftains of Wessex, whose rich graves testify to their success. Commerce was far-flung, in one direction to Ireland and Cornwall and in the other to Central Europe and the Baltic, whence amber was imported. It was perhaps this prosperity that enabled the Wessex chieftains to construct the remarkable monument of shaped sarsens known as Stonehenge III. Little is known in detail of the early and Middle Bronze Age. Because of present ignorance of domestic sites, these periods are mainly defined by technological advances and changes in tools or weapons. From about 1200 BCE, there is clearer evidence for agriculture in the south. The farms consisted of circular huts in groups with small oblong fields and stock enclosures. This type of farm became standard in Britain down to and into the Roman period. From the 8th century onward, British communities developed close contacts with their continental European neighbours. Some of the earliest hill forts in Britain were constructed in this period, ushering in the succeeding period. This period in British history was marked by technological advancements, trade, and cultural exchange, shaping the Britain we know today. Iron Age. The 7th century saw the introduction of iron to Britain, however, it does not signify a change of population. The centuries 700 to 400 BCE saw continued development of contact with continental Europe. Yet the greater availability of iron facilitated land clearance and thus the growth of population. The earliest ironsmiths made daggers of the Hallstatt type but of a distinctively British form. The settlements were also of a distinctively British type, with the traditional roundhouse, the Celtic system of farming with its small fields and storage pits for grain. The century following 600 BCE saw the building of many large hill forts. These suggest the existence of powerful chieftains and the growth of strife as increasing population created pressures on the land. By 300 BCE, swords were making their appearance once more in place of daggers. Finally, beginning in the 3rd century, a British form of Latine Celtic art was developed to decorate warlike equipment such as scabbards, shields, and helmets, and eventually also bronze mirrors and even domestic pottery. During the 2nd century, the export of Cornish tin, noted before 300 by Pytheas of Massalia, a Greek explorer, continued. Evidence of its destination is provided by the Paul, Cornwall, hoard of North Italian silver coins. In the 1st century BCE, this trade was in the hands of the Veneti of Brittany. Their conquest by Julius Caesar in 56 BCE seems to have put an end to it. By 200, Britain had fully developed its insular Celtic's character. The emergence, however, of the British tribes known to Roman historians was due to limited settlement by tribesmen from Belgic Gaul. Coin finds suggest that southeast Britain was socially and economically bound to Belgic Gaul. The result was a distinctive culture in southeast Britain which represented a later phase of the continental Celtic Latin culture. Its people used coins and the potter's wheel and cremated their dead, and their better equipment enabled them to begin the exploitation of heavier soils for agriculture. Thanks for watching our video on pre-Roman Britain. We hope you enjoyed learning about the rich history and culture of the ancient Britons. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to stay updated on our next video. See you next time.